to today's webinar on capital project information handover. Today's presentation will be given by Mike Jordan, who's our Vice President of EAM Practice, and I myself am Lisa Cerisi. I am a Marketing Specialist here at Utopia, and I will be handling any questions you may have during the presentation. So please send those over to me, and we'll queue them up at the end. If you have any questions regarding the functionality or anything not working properly, just send those over to me in the chat. So take it away, Mike.
Hello, folks. We appreciate your time this afternoon. We're going to spend a bit of time talking about capital project information handover. As we do that, I'll speak very briefly about Utopia, our role in the SAP partner community and where we fit. Then more importantly, we'll talk about the capital project information handover business problem. The focus of this presentation will be a business conversation, not mostly IT. So we'll focus primarily on the business problem, the role of standards, and a high-level conversation about the automation infrastructure from SAP and how it's relevant to this non-trivial business problem. Secondarily, we'll talk about the anatomy of the solution. It's primarily two SAP products, Master Data Governance for EAM and OpenText, XECM. The rationale there is that the real world of asset master data is an inconvenient mix of structured and unstructured data. So SAP treats the problem holistically and recognizes that most everything that we aspire to put in plant maintenance begins life as a document. So that's what we'll talk about. I'll work to move quickly through the materials and leave time for questions. All right, here we go. Now then, very quickly about Utopia. We've been in business roughly 14 years, and we are master data guys. We've always worked very closely with the SAP community using the SAP Enterprise Information Management toolset for all things services and software associated with master data collection, transformation, enrichment, migration, loading. So from the beginning, we've been data quality services company. More recently, in late 2014, we partnered with SAP to bring Master Data Governance for EAM, SAP's software product, to market. So this is another domain that we'll focus on today of SAP's rich Master Data Governance product, focused particularly on asset master data. So we're part of the SAP community, and you can just think of us as part of the SAP solution. All of the software that we'll speak to today, you can buy directly from SAP. It's supported by SAP, tested by SAP, and trained by SAP. So we're speaking to SAP solutions. As Utopia has worked in this space, we work in all aspects of data quality. We've partnered with customers to build out master data strategy. As customers move from other systems into the SAP environment or migrate from older versions to new or consolidate versions, we work quite often in the data migration space. In data enrichment, we work quite often in capital project information handover, providing the services side of taking engineering transmittals, doing the transformation into asset master data. But we'll focus today primarily on SAP's Master Data Governance tool and the technologies that enable capital project information handover. So enough about Utopia. Let's talk about the business problem. As we look at the challenges of capital project information handover, this is the traditional process. Organizations doing major capital projects begin with front-end engineering design. This is the preliminary assessment work, decision-making that rolls up to a final investment decision. At that point, organizations move into a fast-track construction phase, which involves detailed design, procurement, construction, all happening simultaneously, and this results in thousands, tens of thousands of changes as the design moves through the process from field changes, and this iterative process that in the later stages involves mechanical completion goes on for 2 to 4 years, followed by commissioning, and only in the later stages of that activity do organizations typically begin deploying the enterprise asset management software or the system that will be the operations and maintenance infrastructure. Because of all of the changes that happen in that fast-track construction phase, traditionally organizations will wait until most of that change is complete and take the information handover. We jokingly refer to it as dump truck handover, very late in the process. The changes are done, but now customers are very close to go live of the plant. And quite often, as a result, with the very late information handover, the build-out of the EAM operating environment, the collection, validation, enrichment, transformation, and loading of that data from as-built engineering documents and drawings and data into an operable, optimized EAM environment quite often goes on for years after startup of the plant. Because of this, organizations will quite often start up a plant with extra staff. They'll bring in the gray-haired 30-year experts to run the plant with the confidence that these guys just know how to do it, in spite of the fact that the operating systems are incomplete. As a result, the operational readiness of the EAM environment only ramps up as quick as it can, and quite often the design production capacity is only achieved at some point after the fact as well, because organizations are not immediately able to have the maintenance processes in place, have the spare parts in place, and have the operations and maintenance environment able to perform in an optimized fashion. Because of this traditional process, the late handover and the scramble to get things done as a result, ARC, the industry analyst, has based upon extensive surveys, said that inaccurate, incomplete capital project information handover can cost a full 1% of the total capital project cost. So for $1 billion facility, you can imagine that a full $100 million is lost as a result of this inefficient, incomplete capital project information handover. That number is a result of the potential impacts you see here. Reduced asset availability. If you're not doing the maintenance, if you don't have the spare parts in an organized fashion, the asset availability is less. The mean time to repair is longer. Extended startup cost. Increased environmental health and safety risk, and increased maintenance cost are all the potential impacts from this traditional capital project process. The National Institute of Standards and Technology, NIST, did a survey across multiple industries and came away with some very interesting findings associated with where the impact of capital project inefficiencies occur. Interestingly, what NIST found is that the impact of the inefficiency does not necessarily accrue to the CapEx organization. As you know, quite often there are separate organizations. The capital project organization stands apart from the operations and maintenance organization. The CapEx team will have a budget associated with bringing a new asset online on time and under budget. They then pass that asset over the wall, if you will, and the operations and maintenance team is then chartered to carry through with the rest of the life cycle of operating, maintaining the asset. So unless things are measured properly, unless you set the proper KPIs in place, a CapEx team can deliver an asset, on time, under budget, but with improper capital project information handover, the downstream impact of that is realized mostly by the OpEx organization, not the CapEx organization. This historically has caused this to be a bit of a challenge because you can not have the right organization that's accomplished, that feels the pain, chartered with fixing the business problem. Fortunately, this situation has long been known in the asset-intensive industries, and standards have evolved that begin to mitigate the problem. Specifically, NIST, again, has partnered with an organization called Theatech, who was the sponsor of ISO 15926, and EPISL, the European Process Industry Standards Organization, to build out standards for process industry data handover guide and capital facilities information handover guide. What these two research projects, this body of work does, is really build a framework that allows you to look at how to think about capital project information handovers such that it's not such a daunting challenge. What the two organizations have done is really build a strategy that allows you to think in broad terms and develop a facility lifecycle information strategy, and then a project information handover guide that breaks it into 4 large steps: establishing the strategy, determining handover requirements. Now, this is the basis that you use for creating contracts with engineering, procurement, construction companies, then building the phased project-specific handover plan, and then implementing the plan. This is a busy slide, and we'll certainly provide you the deck after we're done, so I won't read you the slide nor wait for you to read it right now. But in summary, what this allows us to do is avoid that dump truck handover problem and work with the creation of what NIST calls a pull-based strategy. Now, what that means, in essence, is you go to the end user, the operations and maintenance user, and say what information elements are critical for the ongoing operation of the plant. You define those elements in particular, and then work backward to create essentially the chain of evidence that says where is that information created, who owns it, who delivers it, who maintains it, and you build that single thread for each of the critical information elements required for operations and maintenance of the plant. This pull-based strategy allows you to prioritize what information is required, where does it come from, and how do I govern it. This is a much more manageable problem than essentially a push-based strategy, which is saying, I've got a big dump truck of data, what am I going to do with all this stuff? By carving it out in that specific fashion, you can build a strategy that says who, when, and how are these information packages utilized, prioritized, created, updated, and maintained. This gives you the ability to prioritize and establish the cost and the ROI incrementally. Therefore, there's not a requirement to do a big bang transformation of your organization. You can essentially begin by looking at current business processes. Look at the key information that's required for operations and maintenance, and then look at how you can make very focused, targeted, ROI justified changes to your organization to begin addressing capital project information handover in a more structured fashion. That's the methodology. That's the way to think about it, so that you're not first addressing technology, you're addressing the business problem associated with capital project information handover. Now, as we look at what capabilities support that from the automation perspective, the SAP organization and the SAP community has now built a strategy, built a set of capabilities that allow you to deploy an asset information staging area. This is a set of capabilities that's deployed perhaps years before you stand up the EAM system for operations and maintenance. But it's a set of tools that allow you to take the transmittals from your variety of EPCs, engineering, procurement, construction companies, from the suppliers, from the vendors of various components, collect this transmittal information from the earliest days in an environment where you can do the collection, validation, enrichment, transformation of your master data, providing phased progressive handover rather than waiting till the last moment and taking the dump truck. By beginning early and allowing you to have a configuration controlled environment that you can do the analysis, the optimization, and have time to do the work properly, organizations are able to deploy a fully populated, optimized EAM system at the same moment you're turning on the plant. As a result, you're able to operate the plant with much less extra staff because your operating systems are prepared to support the work. And the EAM operational readiness ramps up as quickly as the plant does. So your operations and maintenance systems, your MRO supply chain are ready to go from the first moment, and the design production capacity of the plant is able to ramp up as a result. You now have optimized maintenance procedures, inspection plans. You now have an optimized MRO supply chain ready from the first moment. And as a result, the impediments that we saw on the earlier slide are now portions of the benefits. You're able to achieve increased production, ramping up to production capacity quicker. You're able to have reduced EH&S risk because you have accurate as-builts, and your operations and maintenance professionals are able to make informed decisions. You have reduced extended startup cost. You're not running with extra staff. You have improved maintenance productivity because your maintenance workers have the information necessary to make intelligent decisions and work in accord with an optimized plan. You have reduced MRO spares cost and improved warranty management. So this is where you find that 1% that ARC suggested could be lost during the course of capital project information handover. The SAP organization is taking these business needs really driven by organizations such as you guys, people in the oil and gas, chemicals, utilities, mills and mining, transportation communities, asset-intensive industries where plant maintenance matters, and taking these business needs into account as the SAP team has designed an asset information staging area. Now, I said we're going to talk from a business perspective, so I'm not mostly talking about products. But behind the curtains here, it's really SAP's Master Data Governance for EAM and the SAP OpenText Extended ECM products. So what we've done is essentially build a staging area that can deal with the fact that information from EPCs, from vendors, from suppliers is, frankly, it's an inconvenient mix of structured and unstructured master data. You're going to get documents, you're going to get data, and you have to think of it in a unified fashion and deal with it in a unified fashion because, frankly, everything we aspire to put in SAP plant maintenance in the supply chain operating systems begins life as a document. So the engineering transmittals, even though you build specifications that says I'm going to dictate exactly what I want and how I want to receive it, sometimes that works and sometimes it doesn't. You're going to get documents, data, you're going to get some random information. The strategy is built to recognize that, to embrace it, so to take in information which includes engineering drawings such as P&IDs, loop diagrams, 3D models, data sheets, material safety data sheets, the purchase orders, all of the detail information that's a part of the best description of your as-built asset, to take those in multiple transmittals during the course of detailed design and build phase, and put them in one organized staging area where you have configuration control of that structured and unstructured information so that you can apply your best practices for validation, transformation, enrichment, approval of that master data. So what you're doing during the course of that time, taking those multiple transmittals, you have time to do what-if analysis. You may even do multiple scenarios. Perhaps I want to do more inspections. Perhaps I want to do more during a shutdown and less during incremental maintenance. Perhaps you want to do run to failure in some cases. This gives you time and the tools to do the optimization and analysis of your optimized maintenance and operations strategies. During the course of that, you're building out all of the plant maintenance load-ready information. You see in the top little white box there in the middle. You're building equipment masters, material masters, bills of material, maintenance plans, strategies, all things necessary to load your operations and maintenance asset master data. Importantly, you're collecting the MRO relevant documents as well. You're building the transformation artifacts such that whenever you're ready to begin loading the EAM environment before go live, you have not just stuff in SAP, you have information with an audit trail. So I can touch a given piece of equipment in my as-built maintenance environment and ask the question, why do you believe that's accurate? And have an audit trail that says it's based on version 7 of this P&ID, it's based upon these vendor data sheets, it's based on these validation rules, these best practice subject matter expert sign-offs. So you don't just have stuff in SAP, you have a guaranteed accurate as-built representation in your operations and maintenance environment that reflects the best latest information that was provided during commissioning and startup of your plant. It's easy to describe the process very simply and as a left to right pretty picture in PowerPoint. In practice, there are multiple cycles, multiple release points during capital project, and then that configuration control and as-built change management environment carries forward through the entire life cycle of your facility. The SAP solution is designed to accommodate that with large-scale and small-scale use cases. We're focusing today on capital projects, but there is a comparable conversation that talks about how do I keep my data right during the remaining life cycle? How do I accommodate break-fix maintenance? How do I accommodate the fact that after go-live, my assets continue to change on a daily basis? But focusing on this use case, on the capital project information handover use case, the characteristics of the staging area are the ones you see here. Requires long duration planning. It's complex data sets, numerous stakeholders, complex processes, and multiple what-if scenarios, as I mentioned earlier. In order to make this work, it's critical to provide the dashboards, progress reporting, and KPIs that allow you to see where I am in the process, what information have I received, how do I know that I am current with the current set of transmittals and field changes that go on during the course of the capital project. Now, if we look at a bit more detail in the anatomy of the solution, the technologies that we're speaking to are the set of tools that SAP describes as their Enterprise Information Management Solution Suite. Importantly, these tools were designed to work together. It's not a random collection of technologies, but it's primarily SAP's Master Data Governance for EAM solution and SAP's Extended Enterprise Content Management System, XECM, developed by OpenText. So these two tools, integrated, provide integrated governance of structured and unstructured asset master data in the one staging area that we mentioned earlier. These capabilities are supported by SAP's Information Steward and Data Services to provide monitoring and change control of your detailed asset master data. So we're talking about a set of tools that were designed to work together from the start. Here's a simple example of how the MDG and XECM technologies work together. So a typical transmittal from the engineering construction company or a supplier will provide a body of documents, a variety of types. They might be intelligent CAD files, they might be PDF files, might be spreadsheets, might be any other scanned documents. So recognizing you're not sure what's going to be there, we'll move that body of information into an open text project workspace. Now this is a content management system. Think of it as a folder. From that initial project workspace, we'll do interrogation of that information and begin creating the structured master data. Now if there are CAD files in that project workspace, we can do automated takeoffs. If they're intelligent, at least to the level of spreadsheets, there are some automated capabilities we can apply to do the takeoffs. If it's dumb drawings, if it's PDFs, you can still do things like optical character recognition or just put eyes on the documents. The method for doing the takeoff is configurable with the tool set, but most importantly, we have this information under configuration control. So from the transmittal, we begin building out the structured master data to describe the equipment masters, material masters, functional locations, work centers, all things necessary to begin building out the operational EAM environment. If you're getting intelligent documents and models, Visual Enterprise provides some brilliant tools to begin building 2D and 3D maintenance aids from that same information. Now, as we're building these master data out, OpenText will automatically create the set of workspaces that correspond to these master data elements. So if you're creating 10 new equipments, OpenText will create 10 equipment workspaces and then move the associated deliverable documents into the appropriate folders or put pointers to those documents in the folders. So at this point, we now have configuration control between the structured and unstructured data and a correlation that says these documents in the transmittal are associated with these elements in the master data being created. SAP has announced a new product called EAM Workbench, which provides additional capability in this environment. EAM Workbench, among other capabilities, allows you to build a best practices library. So if you're building a new facility and you have 5 other facilities already built that are very similar, you probably don't want to reinvent what inspection plans do I use. You don't want to reinvent what bill of materials should I use. You quite likely want to manage a best practice library that says if I have a certain type of equipment in a certain class of service, I always want to maintain it like this. I want to maintain these spare parts on file. I want to inspect it like this. You can build these best practices into the library and essentially do cookie cutting. You can say, I'm going to do this one like that one. I'm going to reuse these best practices and govern those best practices using EAM Workbench. I'm sure you've heard SAP talk about Asset Intelligence Network. This plays into that same environment. So if your engineering construction company tells you the manufacturer and model number of a piece of equipment, but doesn't give you the necessary characteristics, doesn't give you recommended spare parts list or recommended inspection plans, you can go directly to the vendor through Asset Intelligence Network. You can access that information in the cloud and bring that into your environment. So the best of perfect vendor-supplied master data is available through AIN. Now this staging area, as we've said, may exist for years in a large capital project during the entire design phase. You may go multiple cycles through this as you take a an incremental transmittal that delivers some new equipments and makes changes to things you've already received. The environment is designed for purpose to do the configuration control, to do the change management as you take multiple transmittals through this cycle. But when you're ready, when you're well into commissioning, when you stand up the EAM environment and want to begin loading this optimized, validated information into the plant maintenance environment, the workflow engines allow you to load this data in an organized fashion into the plant maintenance system. You're also loading the corresponding unstructured data into the XECM, the open text environment, and importantly, you now have configuration control between the two. You have confidence that version 7 of the P&ID stored in open text relates to perhaps 6 pieces of equipment that are stored in plant maintenance. From that point, if the P&ID goes from version 7 to version 8, you can automatically notify the master data steward for those equipments and say, your supporting document just changed. Please review your equipment master data and confirm that it's still synchronized with the information on the engineering drawing. Thus, if the documents change, the data is synchronized. If the data changes, the documents are synchronized, and you're able to ensure that the structured and unstructured data maintain synchronization. That's a lot of information quickly on the business case, the standards, and the high-level discussion of SAP's strategy for building an asset information staging area. I'll spend a few minutes and I'll climb into the individual products in a bit more detail. SAP's master data governance for EAM is the newest component of a rich master data governance solution from SAP. If you've known SAP for a while, you've probably known MDG. It's been available for roughly 8 years. It's been extremely well received in the market. MDG has supported customer, vendor, finance, and materials domains, and has a very large number of successful installs and references. MDG is core SAP technology. It's built in ABAP, built directly on the ECC operating environment, and makes best use of all of the SAP tools that you already have capabilities for in your basis organization. It uses the SAP workflow engine. It uses SAP's BRF Plus, Business Rules Framework Plus Business Rules engine. It leverages SAP's information steward and data services. So this is core SAP technology that's proven and deployed across multiple domains. SAP has just now brought it in to address this very compelling asset master data business problem. MDG is business process driven. It is workflow at the very heart of the product, just as you recognize the master data governance problem to be a workflow problem. It changes the way that organizations deal with master data. Rather than having an environment where lots of people can go in an ungoverned fashion and just change whatever they like, this builds a strategy for central maintenance of master data in a staging area. So you're deploying information stewards, not the software, but individuals with this responsibility for change management of the master data. So MDG provides intuitive screens that allow people in the field to create a change for master data, search for what they need. If they don't find it, create a change request to create a new one. Or if they have problems with, if there's imperfections in the master data, to spot it in the field and use portable maintenance aids to create a change request, which initiates the auditable process. And then build or support the collaborative workflows that route those change requests through subject matter experts, through automated validation rules, such that you can build a governed process that maintains configuration control of your asset master data. The tool can Engage with external providers, external services. So for instance, if you want to use a reliability analytics engine to do criticality assessment of your assets, you can extract the master data, pass it out to the tool for criticality analysis, and then bring the enhanced result back into the workflow for addition to plant maintenance. And SAP can replicate this master data not just to plant maintenance, but to all of the asset master data systems of record. So if you want to replicate the master data to an engineering system, to a reliability system, to operations and maintenance system, so that you can be sure that in an operating world, your operations guys, your engineering guys, your maintenance guys are all thinking of the same as-built asset master data. MDG is the tool that allows that to happen. I said it's workflow-based. It is workflow-based. This is the workflow engine at the heart of governance and collaboration. Because it's built directly on ECC, it honors the roles, it honors the privileges, it honors the security that's already established in your SAP environment. The workflows are configurable to address your business processes, and the screens are configurable to accommodate your business users. I mentioned BRF Plus. Business Rules Framework Plus is the business rules engine that's used across a variety of SAP products. It's designed to be used by the business user, not an ABAP programmer. It's an English language-like program that allows you to build the business rules relevant for asset master data. So MDG out of the box is automatically going to govern the mandatory, the optional fields that are required, but you may want to build business rules that says safety critical equipment cannot be deployed without an inspection plan or without a bill of material, and the bill of material must have material masters. These EAM specific rules can be built in BRF Plus. The screens are configurable so that you can build a very simple screen for the field user. And the business rules fire during each step of the workflow, so it can do the coaching and capture the necessary information at each stage in the workflow. Beyond that, because we're sitting directly on ECC, the drop-down list, the pick list, all reflect exactly the choices that you have in plant maintenance to ensure that you get only the right information in the master data governance creation process. We can use BRF Plus to do things like autofill. If you can build a business rule that says, tell me one bit of information and I can auto-populate 6 more. These are the tools that MDG can provide using BRF Plus. The screens are all configurable with WebDim Pro, so if you want to build a simple screen that only has 4 fields for your field user. Beyond this, we'll be rolling out Fiori screens so that you can deploy these tools to any portable maintenance aid. This allows capabilities such as a field maintenance worker that goes on a work order and finds the information is not correct. He can then, from that very device, take a photo of the brass tag of the equipment and initiate an auditable process that creates a change request that causes the data to be modified and does it in a fashion that it is auditable, rolls right up to a dashboard so you can see the ability to maintain evergreen, accurate master data. Now, we've talked about the technology. More importantly, for a moment, let's talk about the methodology. Master data governance, it's been described as better considered as a lifestyle change than a crash diet. The fact is, to deploy master data governance in an organization is roughly 80% a people and process problem. So, as I said, you're changing your way of thinking so that not everybody can just go change everything, but in fact you're designing a process that has data ownership Trustees and stewardship. What are the roles and responsibilities? What are the standards, metrics, and change management business processes that will allow you to keep your asset master data correct? The methodology is proven by SAP, so it moves pretty quickly, but it is 80% people and process. Once you've done that, frankly, the technology deploys quite quickly, quite capably with MDG, so that you can address the technology side of the business problem quite capably. Now I'll talk for a moment about OpenText, the unstructured side of the master data challenge. OpenText XECM is designed specifically to address enterprise asset management master data. So it's pre-configured out of the box to address the asset lifecycle that you've seen us discussing all along, and the project workspaces are pre-configured to address all aspects of the asset master data lifecycle. So that when we create a new equipment master, then XECM automatically knows what are the workspaces, what are the types of documents that we want to require as a part of the equipment. XECM then works in lockstep with MDG to govern the master data and documents associated with creation of structured data. XECM is purpose-built to support the content associated with specifically EAM master data. So as we look at how the two products work together, here's an MDG screen associated with the creation of a new functional location or making modifications to an existing functional location. This is creating a change management package or a change request. This is the structured data that's governed by MDG. When you have MDG and XECM working in concert, the bottom of the screen is the unstructured data that's associated with this very same change request. So you see XECM has created the workspaces or the folders for all of the required documents associated with change or creation of a functional location. Beyond that, you're not seeing all of the documents that have ever been associated with the functional location. What you're building is the collection of documents that are associated with a particular change request. So as you look at the resulting audit trail and look at show changes, you see what versions of what documents are associated with the change. So as we said earlier, if you get a document moved from version 7 to version 8, you would include the version 8 in this package of change request documents. This then provides the audit trail for the structured and unstructured master data that describes the responsibility and the reason for change. Once you've established MDG and OpenText XECM as that integrated governance environment, OpenText has brilliant tools that allow you to then view the structured and unstructured master data in your as-built environment. So OpenText can give you one viewing environment to look at the master data in plant maintenance and the associated content associated with those objects. In a Fiori application, you can also view the information from a Windows app, from email. The XECM app has a variety of ways to maintain synchronization between structured and unstructured master data as you move forward into operations and maintenance of your facility. So we covered a lot in a short period of time there. We began talking about the business problems associated with the capital project information handover. We talked about dump truck handover and how traditionally organizations wait till most of the changes have been done and then have to live with the fire drill of getting the EAM system built out when you start very late in the process. We talked about standards, how organizations like Epistle and Fiat Tech and NIST have built out standards for capital project information handover and define proven frameworks for how to think about the problem and how to carve it up into bite-sized, ROI-driven initiatives rather than suggest a big bang. We then talked about how SAP has built a asset information staging area that recognizes that you don't know quite what you're going to get from your variety of EPCs and vendors and suppliers that are providing information during a capital project, and the staging area that allows you to govern the validation, transformation, enrichment, and approval and loading of that master data. Then we talked a bit about SAP's tools that are behind the scenes. MDG for EAM and OpenText XECM and how those tools fit together. So that was a lot in a short order. Lisa will provide you this slide deck at the end of the WebEx, so you'll have the information to refer to, but I think we have a bit of time left. Lisa, let's open the floor to questions.
Sure, guys. If you have any questions, just type them into the questions box and send that over to me, and I'll get those queued up for Mike to answer for you. So our first question today is, how do you handle intelligent CAD data that's provided by engineering construction companies?
That's a good question. Organizations that work, particularly if you work in the front end to build your capital project information handover requirements, you're much better served to specify that an engineering construction company should give you intelligent CAD documents or data rather than just the drawings that are the output of CAD. If they do that, you'll get data that is in an Intergraph format, in a Bentley format, an Aviva format, an AutoCAD format, and all of those tools have automated mechanisms to do takeoff of the supporting engineering data that's behind the drawings. This has much greater value to your organization than if they just create dumb drawing outputs and give you a PDF. If you have the possibility, I would encourage you to insist upon intelligent CAD data from your EPCs. You know it's there. They use the CAD systems to deliver it. Just insist that they give you that information. If they do, then the staging area that we described can use the vendor's tools to do the takeoffs of that data. So you get quite a bit more information in terms of the engineering detail behind the equipment so that you can move much more quickly to build out EAM load-ready information. The technologies are there. The SAP team is partnering with the individual CAD vendors. SAP's tool, the Visual Enterprise, also has brilliant mechanisms to do takeoffs of that engineering master data so that you can extract the intelligence if you insist upon intelligent CAD files. So I guess you ask, what do you do if you get one? I would flip the response to say, please, oh please insist on getting the CAD data because it's much more valuable.
All right, great question. Thank you for answering that, Mike. Our next question is, which version of SAP MDG EAM has the Business Workspace tab, which connects with ECM documents?
Good question also. The Business Workspace, the OpenText XECM, accommodates the latest versions of MDG for EAM. It was available in the last year, so it became available in March of 2015. So I don't have the version numbers of the MDG ready. If you would like, please follow up. You see my contact information here. Drop me a note, and I can give you the specific version numbers. I don't have them at hand, but the OpenText integration to MDG has been available since March. It's deployed, deliverable technology, and it's a download from OpenText. If you have MDG for EAM and OpenText XECM, the download from OpenText provides that link. And if you'll drop me an email, I'll give you the specific versions of the softwares that do support that.
Okay, great. It looks like that particular person will be following up with you, Mike. Next question is, can MDG handle linear data like pipelines?
I bet that's a MDG developer that asked the question. That's a great straight line. Yes, absolutely. It's now deployable. LAM is supported by MDG for EAM, and it provides great value for pipelines. We're seeing a lot of interest in the transportation community for rail users that are interested in LAM for the same reasons. There is also a broader integration with GIS that comes to bear. If you're interested in LAM, you're probably interested in GIS integration. So that's beyond the scope of the presentation today. But the short answer is yes, supports LAM, and if you want to drop me a note, I'm happy to send you additional information associated with how we can engage a GIS system to provide added value there. But it's a very rich story associated with linear asset management and how that can be brought into the capital project process and LAM objects created during the course of go live.
Okay, great. Last question for today is, what companies are you working with now that currently are using this?
Well, MDG for EAM has been on the market since November of 2014. SAP has said that this is the fastest startup of any new solution extension application. We have well over 30 customers with MDG for EAM in place, and a large number of them are deploying OpenText in the integration. Specifically, Shell in the oil and gas arena has been a thought leader in deploying the solutions and in helping us build out the use cases. Shell is quite involved in SAP's oil and gas industry business unit and driving the community of users into defining the use cases for capital project information handover and for ongoing operations and maintenance. So I would introduce, if you're an oil and gas guy, I would introduce you first to Shell and that oil and gas IBU to speak to the collaborative community that are driving this in oil and gas. In the utility community, Alliander is one of the thought leaders in the space. Alliander is a gas and electric distribution company in Netherlands. Alliander is driving a lot of the thought associated with GIS and plant maintenance integration, and the use of MDG and OpenText is the collaborative environment that ensures that the GIS and the plant maintenance data are synchronized. Again, Alliander is working with the utilities IBU to drive those same sorts of capabilities into the broader utility community and building that collaborative environment. We have customers that are rolling out the technology now in the rail community and the chemicals community and other asset-intensive industries, and would be happy to make the introductions to the customers and to the SAP IBUs that are aligned with your particular area of business.
All right. Thank you so much, Mike, for your time today presenting. Thank you, everyone, for attending our webinar. We really appreciate it. As Mike had mentioned, I will be sending out the recording of the webinar along with the deck of slides later on. So keep an eye out for that in your email, and thanks for joining us. Have a great day.
I appreciate your time today. Thanks.